Welcome to Conversations with Anne Elizabeth, the podcast inspired by my book. I'm a registered dietitian, Now What? Where I have the absolute joy to sit back, relax, and have a conversation about nutrition with a variety of people who share their personal story of passion and purpose, especially registered dietitians. Today's conversation is with Erin Hendrickson. She's a registered dietitian who has a passion for all things food, except maybe cooking, corporate wellness, and living a more minimalistic life and sharing her journey. When I embarked upon my Less Stuff, More Life journey a few years ago, Erin was someone I started following on social media. She has such a down-to-earth approach to living a life with more repurpose, as I would say, through experiences and being mindful of food and all kinds of waste. She shares her experiences through the dietetic profession so far and how some crazy twists and turns has led her to this place of passion for nutrition, food, and minimalism. Please enjoy my conversation with Erin. I'm super excited to have you on the podcast. I know that we tried to connect a while back and you kind of weren't ready yet. And you've had some experience now with podcasts. So I'm glad that you decided to be on mine, which your podcast with Kelly and Kim was awesome. I learned so much more from you. I always learn a lot from you.
Conquered my podcast fear, so I'm ready to go.
Well, I want you to kind of, I know you're a registered dietitian, but you do so many other different things that maybe aren't even like dietitian focused. But I want to kind of start out with you and kind of how your story began, how you kind of got into dietetics and where you started in the beginning.
Okay, sure. So I wish I had a story when I had this awe-inspiring moment that, I just knew that nutrition was for me, but I really don't. And I was one of those people that I graduated college, had really no idea what I wanted to do. So I was just kind of taking all my prerequisites and then I had a nutrition class. And I've always grown up around food. My parents had a big farm and then what really sold me on it was we had a class in this Nutrition 101 course where we had to cook something from our ancestry or something from our, just background. And I was so sad. Mine was so boring because it's just like American food. I don't know, and I got to experience all of these other cool cultural foods. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So that's when I kind of got interested in the whole nutrition and the cultural aspect of it. And and how it can impact our overall health. And that's kind of when I decided to go in that direction for dietetics. So yeah.
How far were you into your college career when you kind of had that discovery?
I think it was second year, I believe. So sophomore.
Good timing. Yeah, good timing. You weren't too far in and you still had plenty of time to take all the stuff that you needed to take.
Yeah, which is why I think whenever I have kids, I'm going to fully support a gap year, graduate high school, go do your thing for a year, no pressure to go to college. Because, your tastes change and your interests change, especially at that age. So I think it's super important to, figure out what your interests are, really.
I kind of agree. I kind of wish I would have had that opportunity because you're so right. Just the experiences you have, the people that you meet, and you met so many different people with different cultures and food. And that really is what got you interested. So thinking, if I would have taken a gap year and traveled, I think it would have opened up your eyes to.
Exactly. So yeah, I fully support that. I know that's not even related to dietetics or nutrition at all, really, but just want to throw that in there.
I think there's a stigma of going into school right away after high school and, and you got the rest of your life.
Exactly. How many people do you know that aren't, utilizing their degree whatsoever in whatever they're doing, for work? So
yeah, it's amazing. That's why I ask people, I'm like, how did you get started? Because it's very interesting how it transitions from where it started to where they're at now. And again, life experience is everything.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I got into it. Do you want to know like my career path?
Sure. Yeah. So you finished out your undergrad, took your test, did all the great dietitian stuff. So where did it kind of take you for, your first, job and kind of what you thought you wanted to be when you grew up?
Well, I still don't know the answer to that question, but
progress.
Yeah. But I knew that I was never, ever interested in the clinical aspect of nutrition. So I kind of went the more off the beaten path route. So I started out in food service, and obviously my love of food and just working in food and catering and always being, in the service industry through college, working as a server and things like that. I just knew that I wanted to be around food in some sort of capacity. So I had a role at a children's hospital in Texas in the food service department. So kind of like a manager supervisor, I did all the boring inventory and ordering all the food for the catering department and everything, and for the patients. So that was kind of my first role. And through that whole experience, I knew that's not what I wanted to do forever. So I got really, really interested in the whole holistic wellness aspect of health and how exercise fits into that, and managing your stress, and, also, eating healthfully and just having relationships. And so kind of went into the corporate wellness area. So it was one of those total like quarter life crisis things, quit my job without a backup plan B, and just kind of moved back to Nashville, which is where I'm still at. And honestly, I hated my job so much that I started working back in the restaurant industry until I figured it out. And then that's when I found like my dream job in corporate wellness. And so that's what I did for, 6 or 7 years. And I'll still do a little bit of that corporate wellness work, a few hours a week.
As like a contractor, just with the business. Yeah.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And then, and then a year ago, I was in a corporate wellness sort of position with a major hospital system here in Nashville, sort of a pilot program. And we had a new CEO, and they decided that our whole department wasn't really, I guess, bringing in the revenue that they were expecting or hoping for. And so completely cut out our whole department. And that's when I kind of just went full-time freelance.
So let's talk about
Sure.
a couple points I want you to talk about. So we'll go back to your food service job for a hot second. You just got to a point. You just kind of got to the point that you were just tired of it. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I think that's a great point to talk about with dietitians, that there's going to be jobs like that, right? That you're just not going to like. And so how did you feel? Like, was it difficult for you to kind of quit and, go back to working in the service industry? Or was that easy for you because you just disliked your job so much?
No, it was easy. So I don't know. I had worked there for, maybe 4, almost 5 years. So I love the people that I worked with. I just wasn't fulfilled with the job role. So that was one of those, like, what, if I don't quit now, then, I'm going to waste all this time doing something that I'm not passionate about. That's not really giving me a purpose. And it was so easy to quit and then take that time I needed to kind of find myself and figure out the next step.
And I love that you said that, like, don't stay in something just because it's just a job and you feel like as a dietitian, you have to be this dietitian and you have to be in this role and you have to do this. But if it makes you sad and it makes you like, I don't want to be here, don't keep doing that. That's like the definition of insanity, right?
Exactly. And I feel like today there's so much opportunity for dietitians to really do whatever we want, whatever we're passionate in, there's always going to be some need for it. So even if you can't, quit your job, that probably wasn't the smartest idea for me as, you know, a mid 20-year-old single adult, you know, but I feel like, you know, start pursuing whatever it is that you're passionate about and before you completely quit your job.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to like do an intermission type of job, you know, if it is something that, you know, working in the industry, you know, the service industry, or if it's like I worked for a dermatology office for a long time and didn't work as a dietitian. So, you know, I think that that's okay until you can find what you really want to do.
Exactly.
So now let's go to the second kind of life altering for you was, and I kind of remember when this was happening for you that they just wiped out your whole department. Like, how did you feel? I mean, like, what were all the things that you went through professionally and personally when your dream job was basically just taken away from you?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's just, you feel kind of like all that work was for nothing, and you just feel so inhabilitated, like, gosh, or debilitated. I don't really know what word I'm looking for. You can probably cut that little piece out. I think I just made up a word there.
It could be a word
in, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But yeah, it was just kind of like, you know, like somebody just punched you without, you know, you weren't expecting it. And just like, you know that feeling where you just lose your breath and you can't catch it for a minute. So it was kind of like that. But I mean, luckily, you know, I'd already kind of started doing some freelance writing and just getting more involved with other things outside of nutrition that I was passionate about. And it kind of, and for those of you that are listening, my Instagram handle and my blog, it's the Minimalist RD. So, kind of side note here. So living like a minimalist lifestyle and, you know, not really spending money on things that I didn't need. I was able to kind of not frantically search for a new job after this news hit me because, you know, my expenses weren't that high, you know, with not spending money on anything that I didn't need. So it kind of really worked out for me very well in the end. It was kind of like a blessing in disguise.
It wasn't at the moment, but as you kind of had a few days, weeks to kind of step back and realize, oh, you know, this is exactly what should happen, because you do have that other passion, and you do have. How did you kind of get interested in minimalism and living a more kind of focused and less spending type of life?
Well, I feel like it's kind of something that I had just grown up with. And I told you earlier that I kind of grew up on a farm, and my parents were the ultimate minimalist. And even before like that whole minimalist term was even coined, it's like, yeah. It's like they were the ultimate, you know, reusers and reducers of waste, and just being really mindful with their resources and not, you know, using more than what they needed and everything. And so that's just kind of how I always grew up, and, you know, secondhand toys and just, you know, going to thrift shops was like, you know, fun for me. So, and then reusing foil, like we kind of talked about that one time. Like we did, my mom still does that. And it's like, I think it's interesting because there's a lot of similarities that way with you and I growing up and reusing things. Yeah. So it's kind of just a natural thing for me. And then, I think when we had my husband and I bought our home, and I was furnishing it with just random things that I would find like at the flea market or the thrift store. And I was like, this is really weird. Like, I must be super weird. And then I discovered this whole minimalism movement where it's like, that was the cool thing to do, was, you know, shopping secondhand and just really, you know, saving your money for things that you really enjoy, like experiences over things. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are my people, and they're minimalist. So it's like, I don't know. I just kind of like changed my whole brand to that. And so it's kind of just developed from there.
And is that what you kind of focus in, like in your private practice, as you're kind of doing consulting for other businesses when it comes to incorporating minimalism into their business, their wellness. I mean, I would consider minimalism a type of wellness in my mind.
Yeah. So I don't really consult on that particular topic for businesses, but it always is something that I still have clients from when I was in the corporate wellness industry that, have stayed with me, privately. They're not using the company anymore, but I'm still kind of their wellness resource. And I always do incorporate, some aspect of minimalism, when it comes to food and nutrition and overall health. So it's not, my key focus or anything. That's just, I guess, my social media. And then I do a lot of writing, for different publications if they ever needed, a topic on living with less or, how minimalism is related to your whole overall health and wellness. So
that's exciting. That's exciting that you have found kind of a pathway into being a dietitian, but then also kind of using that as a way to bring out your passion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really crazy how things have worked out when you look at the whole timeline of things.
Do you still enjoy the corporate wellness side? Is that still one of your things that you are pretty into and still passionate about?
I do enjoy it. So I really enjoy working with not so much people one-on-one, but I love the aspect of getting to go into a company and do presentations, or seminars or things like that, where I can, educate a whole group of people at one time. And that's really what I've always loved the most about the whole corporate wellness aspect is you get to, bring your knowledge to a whole larger population than just, one person at a time. Which I think is, it makes it more fun that way to me.
I kind of agree too. I like one-on-one every once in a while, but the group, I don't know. There's something about the excitement about it. And then like the response you get, the nonverbal communication and there's just like some vibe when you're doing presentations.
Mm-hmm. And the engagement. And then a lot of times people can learn not only from you, but from others in the audience and their, colleagues. So yeah, it's just a fun learning experience.
What's the biggest size group you've ever presented to?
I think probably close to 500 people is the biggest audience I've ever had. Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be speaking in front of almost 500 people. It was like an all-employee, whole company meeting that I had to speak at.
Wow.
But at the end, I was like, yes, that was awesome.
You loved it. Yeah. Is it hard
I'm
to
so
find?
Weird.
Why are you weird?
Oh, I was going to say, I'm really weird because I feel like I'm weird because I would much rather speak in front of an audience of 500 people that I don't know than like 5 people that I do know, like 5 close friends or relatives. That's why I think I'm weird. I'm like, ugh.
Do you feel like the pressure is much higher when it comes to people that in a close, intimate setting that know you is way more pressure than the vast audience of unknown faces?
Probably because I'm like, if they judge me, I have to see them relatively often. But if those 500 people that know me judge me, who cares? I'll never see them again, or I'll want to see them very often. So I think that's where that fear comes. So that's where that fear comes from, I think.
I don't think that's weird at all. I think there's a lot of truth to that, though. I can relate because you're right. Like the people that you see often, you're like, oh, well, they could be still like thinking about the presentation or the conversation and bring it up and say, I don't really agree with you. I read this article and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And like I was on live TV for something a couple of years ago and I did not tell anyone because I didn't want any of my family or friends to like watch it in case I, royally messed up on live TV. So I was like, after the fact, I was like, oh, you guys, guess what I did? Go watch this. I was on TV.
I like that plan. After you feel confident about it, be like, oh, guess what? Here's that clip from my TV spot I did this weekend. They're like, what?
I know. I don't know. But I think now, having had experience with it and know what's coming, I think I would feel more comfortable. So
Sure. So you kind of dabble in lots of different things. It just kind of depends on the day.
Exactly. Which is why, and you may have been getting to this later, but I figured I would slip it in now, which is why I kind of am moving in more of a direction where I'm going to be focusing on just one aspect of nutrition, which is kind of where one of my passions lie. And that's, how to eat well and reduce food waste and save money at the same time. So that's kind of where everything has culminated so far for sort of my next project, which I'm so excited about.
That sounds amazing. And I think you're like perfect timing, because there is lots of messaging about, how the insane percentages of food waste that are out there.
Yeah. And I've always been the type of person that I've never really enjoyed cooking. I love eating and I love food. I love learning about food. I love the aspect of gardening and growing food. But when it comes to cooking, it's just like, I cannot get myself motivated to want to, for the longest time, I couldn't. It's just, and, you see all these dietitians with their, beautiful recipe creations. I'm like, how do you take the time to do that and to cook it and to take those beautiful pictures? Like, I don't know how they do it. But so that's kind of what I want to focus on. And for myself, it's just been, over the past couple of years, a struggle trying to figure out what motivates me to want to, meal prep and cook. And for me, it comes down to, saving money and cutting back on the food waste. So that's what's been, helping me to, on a weekly basis, meal prep and grocery shop and cook. And so I feel like that's a huge, huge area that I could be helpful for a lot of people in. So
that's awesome. Well, and it's kind of double purpose, because it's also helping you maybe figure out your cooking style or what you like, and then sharing that with people like me who don't like to cook too. I don't really enjoy it either. So that I will definitely be following along on that, because and I loved you do some different challenges on your social media too, which I always enjoy. And I loved your, you were talking about how you can create meals with what you have in your fridge and kind of doing like a pantry and fridge purge and creating things that way. So is that kind of along the same lines that you're kind of working with?
Exactly. And it's been a lot of fun to kind of just look and see what I have on hand and then try and come up with make it a whole meal. And I've been watching Chopped, the Food Network series on TV. I've just been like binging Chopped episodes and it's so helpful. I think that's really helping me, give me lots of different ideas. So I feel like, that's definitely going to be a component of my new website and new resource I'm hoping to put out.
Erin's version of Chopped. But, I agree with you, like getting your brain to think in a different way, like those chefs do on Chopped. Like they have all these random ingredients. Like how can they come up with these meals that are amazing?
Exactly. Like they have, this pantry of your staples and then these, few ingredients to work with. And it's just crazy what they can come up with. Like you said, using your brain in a different way.
Does your husband cook? Does he like to cook?
No, he doesn't. No. so it would be really helpful if he did.
It would.
Usually it's just both of us trying to figure out like, okay, what do you want to eat for this week? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. It's just like, So, yeah.
So have you had some creations that were awful that you were like, oh, that didn't work out?
Yes. Last week I had extra eggplant on hand and I had extra tortilla chips. So, I'm like, oh, on Chopped all the time, they, crush up chips and use them as like a sort of like a batter, for the vegetables, and then they bake them or whatever. So yeah, that didn't work out. So I crushed all the tortilla chips and used it like as a batter for the eggplant to make it like a crispy eggplant parmesan, and it worked okay, but not my finest creation.
Still, that's a good idea, though. I mean,
yeah,
I would have never thought of that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
You also do.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I noticed too, like you do like to focus on like produce too, which I love. Like you said, being from a farm, like you had your figs from your family, and do you tend to kind of steer towards more like using produce, or will you do all kinds of different food, like when it comes to proteins, and what is your what is your passion in food like?
So my passion is sort of eating sustainably with the seasons, and trying to source local foods when you can. And that's why, I really want to focus on how to do that on a budget, because sometimes it can add up when you're trying to eat sustainably like that. If you don't have, access to like a farm or something, which most people probably don't, but
no.
So I think that's going to be important. And yeah, I love just trying to eat what's available, at the time of year. And so that means, you're cutting down on the waste of, carbon emissions from your food traveling from, across the United States or another country or whatever. So that's also, something that I'm passionate about is sustainability. So incorporating that into it as well.
That's awesome. Is Nashville a really exciting city for, locally sourced foods and resources? I know you have some great like co-op places that you go to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Nashville, it's, right in the middle of tons and tons of farmland. So there are so many different farms around that you can, get your locally sourced food from. And then, with, it's kind of, we've seen a ton of growth in the city over the past decade or so. So it's crazy how many people are moving here and, starting up, their own farm from scratch. And that's pretty exciting too. And then, the newest cool thing in Nashville, we have a store that's like a zero waste shop that it's not necessarily food related, which I would love to be a part of starting like a food co-op in Nashville. But this one's more of like, you can bring in your own bottles and refill like washing detergent, soaps, shampoo, like, skincare products. So it's pretty cool to see. Yeah. To see the movements.
I could see you helping start a zero waste food store. That could be in the future for Erin, maybe.
Yeah. Who knows what I'll be doing with
the possibilities are endless.
Exactly. I've even thought about it. Like I have this whole idea, and please, if there's a dietitian listening to this, please steal this idea. I would love it. Like I would like a food truck, but not selling like, meals, but like a food truck that will go around to different cities, and you can like buy your bulk honey or fill up your olive oil or vinegar or whatever it is that you buy in bulk. Cause I know a lot of like northeastern cities already have food co-ops. That's just not something that you see in the South yet. So I think that would be really cool. Do you have one of those where you live?
No, and if we do, I don't know of it. I feel like maybe someday. I mean, Des Moines is it's very progressive when it comes to that stuff. So I could see it happening. I'll have to let you know. You'll have to let me know when yours kind of starts to happen too a little bit more. But
yeah, I know. A lot of stores are starting to get like bulk aisles and things like that, or bulk sections where you can go and buy your grains and beans and rice and things in bulk, but not a full store here yet for that.
Well, I have to say, you definitely inspire me as a dietitian to incorporate more about food waste and buying in bulk and really being mindful of all of those things when it comes to even my own practice with my clients, because there, like you said, there's so many opportunities to incorporate that into a discussion or a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. And you as well, because I know you've done a few challenges yourself recently with like your no buy month and right? Sort of like a no spend month.
July. Yep. No buy July. Yeah. And you were going to do like, it went good. I didn't buy anything. It was great. It was totally successful. I think I could do a lot of it longer. So
yeah,
I keep watching yours too. Cause I'm like, oh, well, she does one. I'll just do hers.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see how much money you spend on little things here and there that you don't even realize whenever you really start focusing in on it and tracking and really being mindful of your spending habits. So
absolutely. And I think as for even just dietitians in general, when it comes to experiences, and it doesn't have to be like travel, but I think for me, I've incorporated the spending money on experiences and like increasing my knowledge and trying to attend more things that advance me as a dietitian as well as just a human being. So I've kind of changed my perspective on that kind of spending too.
Yeah, it's so important to like invest in yourself and your passions, whether it's nutrition related or not. And all the times you can find things that inspire you in those non-nutrition related, areas or things that you're passionate about and bring that to your nutrition practice.
Absolutely. And I think you're right though. Like you need to have, and I think that's what you're doing so well, is you're still a dietitian and you still practice your nutrition, but you also have this other thing that helps define you and helps you stay full of joy and keeps you happy. And that's ultimately what all dietitians need to find outside of just nutrition and food.
Exactly. Because you never know, what connections you can make and how that may help you in the future and how it can shape your whole career path.
Exactly. We gotta just keep opening our eyes to all the possibilities. Like you said, there's so many possibilities out there for all kinds of dietitians, and you don't have to be that clinical food service, mainstream dietitian person.
Exactly. You don't have to put yourself in one of those boxes.
Right. So you have a lot of fun. I mean, where you're headed with your business sounds extremely exciting and kind of your focus. When is your transition going to happen? Like for as far, because I think you're going to change your Instagram handle too. You kind of mentioned that.
Yeah. So I've already kind of started to, focus on the aspects of food waste and how to save money, on your food spending. I've already kind of started shifting in that direction. So I think hopefully it won't be too much of a shock whenever that goes, whenever I just switch it over fully.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably one of those things where nobody will really even notice, but I'm just making a big deal about it in my head. But I'm hoping in the next couple of months to have my new website up and launched and everything. So we'll see. I don't really have like a
timeline.
Yeah, a deadline for myself, which I probably need to set one just to make sure I do it. But
you probably
in a timely matter.
You have all your other stuff in your business going on too. So that's probably not your primary focus, but.
Right. But it is definitely something that I'm working on. And I would say probably in the next couple months, I'll have that up and running.
Do you incorporate both your kind of minimalism and your like entrepreneurship private business into one website, or do you have separate kind of entities for those that are contacting you from corporate wellness versus those that are contacting you for your other kind of Instagram
No, so my website is still minimalistrd.com, which has been my blog. It started out just like, probably, 5 or 6 years ago, just as a blog that I wrote on for fun. And then I guess it was last year, I finally decided to make it more of like a, my business website where people can contact me and just kind of see what all I've done in the past, my portfolio for writing and things like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's been my main place where people can contact me.
That's your homepage. Well, I definitely will link all of that in the show notes too. So if anyone's curious about all the things that you're doing outside of Instagram, because there is a world outside of Instagram, right?
Yes. And I feel like we get so sucked into that. And it's like, oh, wait, you do other stuff.
You do other stuff? Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. But no, I do, appreciate how Instagram, all the opportunities that can come from Instagram, especially if you have, one particular area that you're focusing on, how niching down is one of the most important things you can do in your business. Yeah. Instagram is a huge resource.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited to see what you transition into and still providing awesome content for the world, including myself. And I love your uniqueness to your profession and how you do all the things you do.
Oh, well, thank you. And I don't know, I'm kind of just, I do a little bit of everything and I'm still trying to figure out, my next move, because as a new kind of like entrepreneur that was kind of forced into entrepreneurship, it's been a fun ride. So I'm excited to just kind of have one central website, which my website, the Minimalist RD one, I think I'll keep that, but I, eventually want to combine that with, or have it absorbed into my new website. So
sure,
that's probably really confusing for any. Yeah, that probably sounds really confusing to anyone that's listening. So
to be continued.
Yes, exactly.
All right. So I have some hard questions for you. I always end with my hard questions.
Okay.
It's like, these are harder than the other questions I asked you, which is fine. But why don't you share with me some of the foods that you enjoy?
Well, I love to eat pretty much everything, but since we're getting closer to fall, I really enjoy all the soup weather. So pho is probably my all-time favorite cold weather food. So I'm excited to finally get to eat that here in the next few months.
Now, do you make it at home, or is that going to be part of your recipe challenge for yourself?
Probably. No, I've never made it at home, just because every time I look up a recipe, it's like 20 ingredients and I'm like, what? So that's scary. So no, I'll just go to my local favorite shop, and that will be that.
Enjoy it. Yes, that's a good plan. I know. Why is there so many ingredients? You wouldn't think like this broth soup would have so many ingredients.
I know, but man, it's so good.
It is good. It is good. Why don't you share with me some beverages that you enjoy?
Gosh, well, the only things I ever drink are really water, coffee, and wine. So,
is there anything else? I mean, that seems pretty perfect.
Exactly. That's all you need in life. Water, coffee, and wine.
Wine. Are you a white or a red wine drinker?
Oh, definitely red. And Pinot Noir is probably my favorite kind of red wine.
Well, when we get to meet each other in person, we'll share a glass of that for sure.
Yes. Hopefully that'll be. And did I see that you're going to Fancy this year?
I am. Are you going?
I am. Yes, I'm going to Fancy.
Okay.
So yeah, hopefully we can connect sometime.
I'm actually going to host a little podcast get together. So stay tuned for. I'll send that to you. So
yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Hopefully that would be something that you can attend and we can see each other.
Yes, definitely. Keep me updated on that.
Okay, I will. Share with me colors that you enjoy.
Definitely neutral colors. So black, white, gray, and then lately though, loving greens like olive green and that rusty orange, like dark orange rusty color.
Mm-hmm.
Are my faves right now.
And then share with me maybe some scents or some smells that you enjoy.
Smells. Probably like earthy scents, like anything like herby. I don't know if that's a word either. Herby. I'm making all the words today.
A word.
Herby and earthy and probably like warm scents, like vanilla and maple and all the food.
Kind of matches with your colors. All kind of, I can see your palette of smells and colors.
Mm-hmm.
Erin's palette.
Thank you.
And then what brings you joy in life, Erin?
I think just doing life with, the people that I love, my husband and my friends and family, and experiencing new things and just, trying things that are outside my comfort box. Really makes me excited.
That. Yeah. Well, you definitely have had a good ride of that so far.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely interesting times.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to all the things that you're creating and providing and doing as a dietitian. And thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Anne. This was fun. And yeah, I'm excited to hopefully meet you in Philadelphia next month. And keep following your journey too.
We'll just keep on tagging along and doing challenges and not cooking.
Yes, we are kindred spirits and we will figure it out.
As you can tell, I truly find so much value in everything Erin does and shares with her audience. I'm fangirling on her all the time. If you are looking for easy and simple ways to start focusing on less stuff in your life, less food waste, less junk, less money spending, take a few of her interesting monthly challenges that she shares on social media, and you won't regret it. You'll really enjoy doing some of these challenges. You also learn a lot from her, so please go to minimalisticrd.com and see all the great things she's doing. My website, AnnElizabethRD.com, is where you can read my latest Embrace the Hell Yeah blog post, as well as all my previous podcasts, show notes, and links to things we talked about during all my conversations with these great nutrition experts. My book is also available for purchase on the website, and there are now 15 CEUs approved for self-study through the CDR, which you can purchase on the website too. I hope we can connect more on social media by finding me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest at AnnElizabethRD. Remember to be great always, find the joy in each day, and to start a conversation that truly matters.